Alright, this is a video for the project parts, the screw and the link. Okay, so we're gonna start from the the goal of whole project. Um, well, I recommend you read those three here. Basically, here says you don't have to follow the dimensions. The goal is to put your the CAD project together. So that requires you to make sure your assembly dimension is correct between different parts. So for example, if you have a hole in one part and there's a pin in another part, you want to make sure the diameters are the same. Other than that, those aesthetic dimensions, that doesn't matter that much. And also the sketch, you don't have to be fully constrained in them. Okay, it's hard sometimes to get fully constrained. All right, now let's start from the first part. So this part is flat, and basically you just have to do a simple extrude. And the tricky part is the sketch. And again, that's something from drafting. Okay, so we have two sketches here. The first one is basically mimicking a blueprint without the constraints. And the second one is directly from NX sketch with constraints. So you will know like what I have on the sketch with the constraints, and from the constraints you might get a hint on how I drew this thing. But here I'm gonna show you step by step how to make this. So first you want to make a new file and save it to some place you know you have your access. So for example, I'm just doing demonstration here, so I didn't rename the parts. So from this sketch, okay, first we want to create a sketch on XY plane. So I'll think Z as the thickness direction of the whole model. So let's put a sketch on XY plane and start. Okay, now I'm in the sketch. Okay, as you can tell from the bottom toolbar. All right, so first glance at this model, you want to pick a place to put your sketch origin, and there's a hole here, so that's why I put the sketch origin here, and which has a dimension, the diameter of 0.23. So I'll first put in a hole and type in a number, the diameter 0.23, hit enter, then Control F. So now I know how big the sketch would be. So this is like a scaling of your sketch. And next, okay, you look at this sketch, you notice some round corners, and those should be the fillets. And also, from the way that the dimensions are, they should be fillets. Okay, and the other thing is tricky is this arc here. I'm gonna zoom in here, and see, I don't see a radius here, but I do see a tangent constraint on the top and a perpendicular at the bottom. And now I notice there's a hollow dot here, so that indicates this is a quarter of a circle, and the center of the circle is on the bottom horizontal line. That's why you don't need a radius here, because the distance between the top and bottom line will be the radius of this quarter circle. Okay, so with that in mind, we can start this sketch. And here I need to say this again. In computer drawing, in the CAD, you don't have to follow the dimension at the beginning. all you need to do is just have a general geometry of the sketch. So here's what I'm going to do. Use profile tool, and I don't worry about the dimension right now. Since I have the first circle that's up to scale, so I know about how much I need to draw. And I can start drawing. And here it's fillets. So I'll leave the fillet to the very last, as long as I can make it. Now here, you can either close this or just like what I do, I'll keep this open because that's an arc here. So I'll insert an arc, and usually the arc tool is on the 3 points. So 3 points arc, you can tell from this line here, it says it'll tell you what you need to do right now. So we're gonna select the starting point of the arc. So I can select this point, and that's the end point would be at the bottom. And now you need to specify 1 point in the middle. So if you notice the top corner, there's the tangent icon. The tangent symbol shows up. That means if I click now, the arc will be tangent to the top line. And also you see the top line is highlighted. So that's what I need. Now I'll just click. Okay. And now you see a tangent constraint on top, which is the vertical short blue line. Okay. However, this side is not perpendicular, so I need to add a perpendicular constraint here. Two ways. You can go to your old school, go in here, and there's a tangent, or there's a perpendicular constraint, or there's a shortcut. Anytime you click any objects on your screen, like so, you have a shortcut menu. You can see what we can do on this object. So for example, on this line, we can turn this to reference. We can hide it, change color, and the later half or the right half of this menu is the constraints you can apply to this object. So you can make this vertical, and this is horizontal now. Okay, and you can make this fixed. And if I pick two objects, say this arc, and now the applicable constraint changed to different constraints because your objects changed. And now you have two objects. So the constraint will be the relationship between them. So you can make them tangent or you can make them perpendicular. So we want perpendicular. I'll just pick this one. Now you have perpendicular, and if you hover here, you can tell the center of this arc is right on the bottom line. And if you feel that this is a little bit off from the sketch, you can simply just drag and make this thing back to the scale you want. And notice here there's a perpendicular constraint automatically added by the computer. So we don't want that because you can tell a little bit that's not perpendicular here. So I can just click on this, move your cursor, and when you see this says perpendicular constraint, click and you can delete this. Or what you can do is you can move your cursor here and wait until you see this 3 dots. So that's the quick pick menu. It'll show you all the objects just underneath your cursor. So there is one perpendicular constraint. I'll pick this up and you can delete this. Okay, now next we will add dimensions. Let's start from the top. So P13, 12, and 11. Okay, and they all starts from this very the rightmost corner. So I'll use invert dimension and make it a little bit smaller from this corner to, let's say, to this vertical line first. And that'll be 2.8. Okay, and don't worry about this here. We can just simply drag this back. Okay, and you don't want vertical, so again I'm gonna click on the vertical constraint and delete this. Drag it, drag this back a little bit, and as you can see, the total width of this is P1, 3 inch. So I'm gonna use, oh, you can just click on the bottom line. Okay, that's the length of the bottom line, 3 inch, and we have this 2.8. Now that's 1.9 from this point to this intersection point, 1.9. So we can also add this 1 inch here on this very end to this point, 1 inch, and what we have left is P6.38. So from this point to, actually that's y-axis, okay, since we're adding horizontal dimensions, so that's 0.38. Alright, and that's pretty much it. Beside the circle, the center of the circle, and I think that's all for the horizontal one. So we can drag the dimensions around and make them at the proper rate position. Now these vertical dimensions, that's on the right side, left side. Okay, and I'll move this over. From the very top to the bottom is this corner to the bottom line is 0.9 inch. Then from the top horizontal line to the bottom horizontal line should be 0.52. And from x-axis to the bottom line is, okay, I used the one equation here, and you can tell P2 is my radius and my diameter for the circle here. So what it says is the radius, so the diameter divided by 2 is the radius plus 0.1 inch. Basically that means the bottom of the circle to the bottom horizontal line is 0.1 inch. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same here. Now this time it's P0 here, divided by 2 is the radius. Now the radius, where I want to go down 0.1 inch more from the bottom of the circle. Okay, and hit enter. So once you hit enter, it will make effect, change your geometry. So that's this side, and let's take a look on the other side. And we have 2 dimensions. So I'll give a dimension from this to the bottom, which is 0.33, and the step here's 0.13. And as you keep adding dimensions, you will see the color change on your sketch. So those green parts are constrained, and those 2 lines, they're not constrained right now. And the top says the constraint needs 1 constraint. Okay, what do we need? What are we missing here? Is this angle P16 in the slides. Okay, so to add angle, you simply click the 2 legs of your angle or your corner. So you click this line and click that line. That'll be 45 degrees here. And now my sketch is fully constrained. And so you have a base for the next step, which is this circle here. And you don't have to worry about where the circle is. I can just simply add the circle here, and I can trim this off as well as this. Now we're gonna need a constraint and dimension for the center of this arc, as well as the radius. So in for dimension, click the arc. Now give us radius, which is 0.28. And next to the center of the arc to the very left side is 1.45 inch. And don't worry about that. We'll add another dimension is from the center of the arc to x-axis. So click x-axis, click the center of your arc, which is 0.4 inch. Once you hit enter, it'll give you a proper shape. Okay, now I think it moved something around. Let's see what happened. Need this. Okay. We can try to drag this point. Now you can see this is moving around. So it seems like we have some dimension missing. And that's the P6 here. We don't have that anymore. Okay, so we need to add that back. Because we did a trimming, and that dimension was at the end point of the bottom line, and we trimmed the bottom line, so that point is not there anymore. And you can avoid that by just picking the end point of the arc. So if you hover here, you want to pick which point. Okay, if you pick the end point of the arc and make dimension between y and this end point, next time if you trim the bottom line, you will not delete that dimension. Okay, now it's again fully constrained. So the bottom arc is good. Now we're gonna do the fillets last. So fillet, and for this corner, that's 0.2. So 0.2 and hit enter. And here is 0.6, 0.6, and this corner is 0.2 also. And there's a little one here, which is 0.05. So between this and that, 0.05. And I think we're exactly the same as this one already. So it says fully constrained, which is a good sign, telling you that your sketch has good quality. And we can just finish sketch. In this case, we're going to extrude everything in this sketch. You can simply go to extrude. And also, as my slides said, this is a symmetric part. Okay, so if you look at this from NX, if you extrude one directionally, it doesn't feel right. Okay, because this is symmetric, so you want the coordinate system to be on your symmetry plane. But what I will do is change this to symmetric value and take this as a half of the thickness, which is 30 seconds, and show results. Okay, so now my y-axis, or the xy plane, is right in the middle of the solid, which makes sense because that's your symmetry plane, right? And this is your reference plane. You want that to be in the center. Okay, and if you want to, you can add some aesthetic, little things here and there. You can make edge blend for this edge, that, and this. And this says alert because this radius is way too big. If you make this smaller, okay, and you can make that smaller too. If they're the same radius, you can do this, and you can pick this edge and that edge. Also make this smaller, and also those two. So maybe even smaller, say 0.03, probably okay. So that's just the aesthetic, so you can do whatever you want. Okay. Now the second part. Okay, the next part is the screw. Okay, and let's close this off and build a new file. Again, you have to save that to somewhere you have access. Alright, now here the screw is made out of basically 3 cylinders, and cylinders is a pretty regular geometry, so you don't have to extrude, you don't have to draw a circle and extrude. NX provided some basic solid, that's basic geometry already, so you can go to insert, and that's a design feature. So far our extrude revolve, that's all belongs to design feature category. So here you can take a look, we have blocks and the cylinders, also cone and sphere. So we're gonna use cylinders. Okay, this way you don't have to have a sketch and extrude. Okay, and specify vector. I think it's on the z direction. If you have to make sure, you can say z direction and specify point. That's on the absolute origin. You can make sure by clicking this point dialog. Once you get in here, you can take a look at the coordinates. Okay, and the diameter is, let's take a look. We have 3 cylinders. The first one diameter is 0.63, the height 0.232, and now we can say just apply, because we're going to insert another one. So apply, that's the first one. We change fit. Second one is diameter 0.303, height is 1.5. Apply, and keep this boolean at this none, because we're gonna make thread on the surface of a cylinder, and the thread tool doesn't like a step complicated geometry. Okay, now the last one is 730 seconds, and the height is 2, and now this time we can click OK and Control F. That's the screw before we unite all those cylinders. Okay, next we're gonna make a chamfer. Okay, and the chamfer, you have to know like how much this is, and in NX we can simply use equations. So chamfer, and we can use symmetric, that's the edge. Okay, and the distance is, we need to calculate, which is here, the diameter of the bigger cylinder is 0.303 minus the small cylinder, 730 seconds divided by 2, that's the one side of the ring. Okay, and apply. Okay, now take a look, that's a perfect fit. Okay, and here's the tricky thing, and I haven't been able to figure that out yet. So in order to make the thread and make the thread goes all the way into your chamfer, we have to suppress this first. By suppress, I mean just clear this checkbox. And now this feature is gone. Then we can insert a design feature and a thread. And now we need a detailed thread, okay, for good looking. And we want to place this thread on the cylindrical face. And one thing we have to change is this minor diameter is, you want to make this inner diameter as the same as the smaller cylinder. so which has a diameter of 330 seconds. We can say OK. That'll generate some thread. And don't worry about the thread if it goes into your another cylinder, because we haven't united them now. Okay, we can unite them and it'll clean up this section here. So now we're gonna call back this transfer feature by clicking here. Once you check it here, it'll give you a transfer on the thread. And if you don't do this, if you have this on, the thread will not go all the way up to the chamfer. And I don't know why or how to fix this. Rather, I didn't spend a lot of time Googling this. That's the solution, so I think that's pretty good already. Then next, we're gonna add some aesthetic chamfer to this thread. So this corner you want 0.02, apply, and for the thread, this bolt head 0.04 inch, apply, and turn this off. Now we can actually unite them, so that's a Boolean operation here. And as long as I select the first one, and it'll jump to the second object right away. So the easiest way, just turn this on and click all three of these. You don't have to worry about where it's gonna be, and click OK. So if I turn on to static wireframe, and as you can see, the thread is clean and stops right there. Okay, and the last one is we need to add the hex screw hole here. And to add a hex, that's a sketch. So we need to create a sketch on top of this face. So if you remember, we can place a sketch on a datum or a face. So this time we pick it up a face as the base for your sketch. And then a hex is deep down inside this insert menu and a sketch curve. So polygon here, and by default it's a hex. So we're gonna specify the center point to your sketch origin, and the size we provided here. And this is a 4mm hex wrench. So you're gonna say 4mm. The radius is 2mm divided by 25.4mm per inch. Okay, the angle, you can say 0 or 90 or 180, it doesn't matter. And hit enter. Now they'll give you one hex here, and you can simply close this. And that's all for the sketch. We can just go and extrude this. And note the direction you want to extrude inside into your solid. So I'm gonna double click here, switch the direction. The distance for our extrude is 0.15, and you have to hit enter to have a review. And here we're gonna use subtract, and it's automatically picked this body. We can just click OK. Now that's all for the screw. That's pretty easy. The only tricky part is this thread. You have to suppress this chamfer first, insert the thread, then call back this chamfer. So that's all for this video. Thank you.